Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your #1 source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Tomorrow is a WRAL weather alert day. We're looking at the potential for some strong gusty winds and hail. I'll show you the timeline and when we could see some rain today as well.
And no bond. A man charged with kidnapping a 14-year-old student faced a judge this morning, where authorities found him and the girl.
Also homeward bound, a Russia-American dual citizen is headed to the U.S. as part of a prisoner swap, who the U.S. handed over in exchange for her release.
All those gains yesterday, stocks tumbling again today. You see the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 1,500. All the major indices are in the red once again. NASDAQ almost down 1,000 right now. Keep track of it here tomorrow. Also a WRAL weather alert day as severe storms are possible in the afternoon. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is out on the WRAL weather patio with a look at the rain that will be starting as early as this evening, Elizabeth.
We do have a first round that's going to come through right as we get through the tail end of the evening commute. And then we're going to see rain overnight and then on and off during the day tomorrow. So we're looking at the potential tomorrow for hail and damaging winds, certainly the potential for some dangerous lightning as well. And it does cover most of the viewing area. We have that level 1 risk for severe storms for tomorrow. Here's a look at what's happening right now. Notice the cloud cover and the showers working their way into the western part of the state, but the cold front is still well to the west, back across parts of the mountains. So that comes swinging in here as we get through the evening. Notice how as we get through the day today, this is a look at Futurecast. Watch those clouds really start to thicken up, and then just how quickly this line comes through. It looks like a pretty intense band of thunderstorms, but we're not expecting anything severe necessarily, but it may reach close to severe criteria. So we're going to see heavy rain and strong gusty winds this evening. And of course, you can see that coming through Durham and Raleigh between 6 and 7 o'clock, and then around 8 to 9 o'clock in our eastern counties. Then we get a bit of a break overnight, and we'll see more rain during the morning tomorrow, and then a better chance of those storms, which could produce some severe weather between the middle of the afternoon and say 9 or 10 o'clock tomorrow evening. But tomorrow is going to be the time when we have the best chance of seeing any of those severe thunderstorms. We'll have some lingering cloud cover on Saturday, but Saturday and Sunday look fairly dry. Again, our severe threat will be for most of the viewing area for tomorrow. We'll talk more about the weekend coming up.
New this noon, a man has been arrested in Lee County for the abduction and rape of a teenage girl. 41-year-old Victor Bustamante faced a judge this morning. WRAL's Monica Casey is live in Lee County. Monica, he faces a lot of charges.
That's right, and that judge set his bond this morning at $3 million. But the Lee County Sheriff's Office says in the course of this investigation, they learned Bustamante is not here legally, so he is also now being held on a federal detainer. Now, the Sheriff's Office says they started investigating when a 14-year-old girl didn't come home from school yesterday. They learned Bustamante had picked her up and took her to a hotel here in Sanford. He is now charged with 2 counts of statutory rape, abduction of a child, felony conspiracy to commit abduction, and solicitation of a minor by a computer. We obtained the warrant in this case, and we have learned that Bustamante contacted this victim through Facebook. Now, the Sheriff's Office here says the SBI, Homeland Security, and the Broadway and Sanford Police Departments were all involved in this investigation. Live in Lee County, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
Authorities identified a body found in Wayne County in December as a missing woman from Illinois. The state's chief medical examiner's office says it was Caitlin Hodges. Her body was found on December 10th on Dollardtown Road in Goldsboro. Hodges was reported missing in Goldsboro last July. The Wayne County Sheriff's Office says the investigation into her death is ongoing.
Today's the deadline for State House lawmakers to file bills for consideration this session. As you might expect, the proposals are pouring in on every conceivable topic. Our NC Capitol team is tracking what's getting filed, and WRAL Capitol Bureau Chief Laura Leslie joins us live from the Legislative Building. Laura, most of these will never become law, right?
absolutely right, Jeff. I mean, any lawmaker can file any bill they want to, and they do. They've filed more than 1,600 proposals already this year between the House and Senate. Only a small fraction of those will actually become law at any point. But it's always interesting to see what they're proposing. One bill filed by Republican Ray Pickett would make it illegal for a driver to hold up traffic in the left lane, even if they're doing the speed limit. H.864 says no person shall operate a motor vehicle in the left lane of a multi-lane highway at a speed that impedes the normal and reasonable movement of traffic. Well, that means if traffic is moving faster than the speed limit, then speed limit drivers would need to get out of the left lane. It would also set a minimum speed limit for highways of 10 miles per hour under the speed limit, unless road conditions are bad or they're towing something. And it would ban large trucks from the left lane unless on highways with 6 or more lanes. Now, a lot of state lawmakers have really long commutes to Raleigh, so they're pretty familiar with this issue. And similar laws have been filed in past sessions, but none so far have become law.
Now, they're wide-ranging, though. There are a lot of bills this year about pets as well, Laura, including one that makes it illegal to let your dogs run loose out of the owner's control.
That's right. It's already illegal. You might not know this in North Carolina to let your dogs run loose at night. This would extend that ban to daytime hours as well. The bill filed by Wake Democrat Julie Von Hafen would also make dog owners liable for medical or veterinary expenses if their dog attacks or kills another domestic animal or person. That would apply even if the dog is technically on a leash, but the owner is still not able to control it. Owners would also be liable for damages if their dog escapes from an inadequate enclosure, like a loose fence. Well, currently dog owners are not automatically liable in North Carolina in situations like this, which might surprise a lot of people. Animal bills are notoriously difficult to pass here at the legislature, but this one might have a chance at a hearing.
Definitely covering a lot of ground there. Laura Leslie live at the Legislative Building. Thank you. A Durham nonprofit announced nearly 500 layoffs nationwide. 144 of those workers are in North Carolina. FHI 360 focuses on global health and developing solutions to fighting infectious diseases and food insecurity around the world. The company says the Trump administration's reduction in federal funding is the reason. The layoffs take effect May 2nd.
Inflation cooled to a 6-month low in March, but many economists are still uneasy about a looming trade war. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is in the Village District to break down the new numbers.
That new report released earlier today shows that inflation was down to 2.4% in March. That's down from the previous month and when inflation was at 2.8%. So this is around what economists were expecting. They say this may be the last time we see inflation cool for a while. So restaurants, shops, and businesses like the ones here in the Village District may have to increase their prices in the future. President Trump recently announced sweeping tariffs, but yesterday he put them on a 90-day pause, offering temporary relief and big price hikes. We checked in with Duke economist Connell Fullenkamp. He says if the tariffs eventually go through, you may feel the effect when your family goes out to eat.
Restaurant meals are going to be one of those hidden places where you get hit with a higher price. And you say, why is that? And it's because so many ingredients now are imported because, we just can't grow everything all the time here in the U.S.
Fullenkamp says this may force restaurant owners to become more creative by finding substitutes or other suppliers that are based in the U.S. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
The market euphoria we experienced yesterday, now flipping back to concern about an all-out trade war. The Dow is down 1,600 points. S&P 500 also in the red, down 268 points. And the NASDAQ down about 1,000 points at this hour. We'll continue to monitor these movements for you throughout our newscast.
A Russian-American woman sentenced for treason in Russia is now free. Ksenia Karolina was released as part of a prisoner swap and is on her way back to the United States now. NBC's Molly Hunter explains who was released as part of the deal.
We've just learned that after more than a year in Russian custody, U.S.-Russian dual national Ksenia Karolina is on her way back to the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio posted on social media this morning saying American Ksenia Karelina is on a plane back home to the United States. She was wrongfully detained by Russia for over a year, and President Trump secured her release. POTUS will continue to work for the release of all Americans. Now, her lawyer says her plane took off from Abu Dhabi early this morning, and according to Karelina's family, the LA resident had traveled to Russia last winter to visit her 90-year-old grandmother, sister, and parents for a brief trip. But when she arrived, Russian authorities confiscated her phone. And according to her boyfriend, she was accused of making a donation of about $50 to a Ukrainian charity after Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. Now, last summer, the 34-year-old ballerina was convicted of treason, sentenced to 12 years in a Russian penal colony. She was actually tried in the same court as now freed Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich was. And in exchange for Karelina's release, the FSB has said the U.S. has freed a dual German-Russian citizen, Artur Petrov, who'd been arrested for violating export laws. This is the second time an American has been released from Russia since President Trump took office in January. And this morning, a CIA spokeswoman, tells NBC News this new exchange shows the importance of keeping communication open with Russia and vowed to free other Americans wrongfully detained. Molly Hunter, NBC News, London.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, the death toll from the Dominican Republic nightclub roof collapse has climbed to 221. This number up from 218 about 30 minutes ago. This has turned into a recovery mission. There is little hope that they are going to find anybody else alive in this. The roof of the Jet Set nightclub collapsed early Tuesday morning. 189 people have been rescued, but nobody has been pulled alive since Tuesday. It is unclear how many people are unaccounted for right now. The venue does have the capacity to hold up to 500 people. The removal of bodies accelerated overnight after a large chunk of debris was removed from that site. Officials saying a large majority of those bodies were female. An investigation is expected to be launched very soon in all of this.
A funeral for longtime Hillside High School principal John Lucas Sr. will be held Saturday. Lucas died last week at the age of 104. He was Hillside's principal from 1962 to 1985. Lucas was also a longstanding member of the Shaw University Board of Trustees, the university's interim president as well from 1986 to 87. He was the longest living member of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. His memorial service will be held noon on Saturday at White Rock Baptist Church in Durham.
Next at noon, offensive names removed. How Alaska plans to drop derogatory names left over from World War II.
Also, the future of NASA. Who could become the new head of the organization and what it could mean for the program.
Plus, Christmas concern. Why the tariff trouble now could upend your holiday celebrations.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Just a gorgeous afternoon as we look live at the Legislative Building. Partly cloudy skies with sunshine. We'll hit 70 degrees today. You're watching WRAL News, available on Spectrum and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device. The rain will be moving in by the evening commute. A judge has ruled that right-wing channel Newsmax defamed Dominion voting systems by falsely accusing the company of rigging the 2020 presidential election. The case stems from false on-air allegations from Newsmax hosts and guests. They claimed Dominion colluded with Democratic operatives to flip votes from President Donald Trump to then candidate Joe Biden. Newsmax could settle out of court. Fox News settled a similar lawsuit with a record $787 million agreement in 2023.
A historian in Alaska is one step closer to removing two offensive names from Alaska geography. The expert found the names Nazi Creek and Nip Hill left over from World War II. The original Unanga name for Little Kiska Island, there where the two names are located, is Gizzard, and state leaders unanimously approved changing the derogatory names to Gizzard Creek and Gizzard Hill.
The state of Alaska now sends it to the federal agency, the U.S. Board of Geographic Names, and then they review the material and they decide either to remove the names or keep the names.
And those new Alaska names will be voted on when the U.S. Board of Geographic Names meets next month.
Billionaire tech CEO and private astronaut Jared Isaacman could become the next head of NASA. Isaacman answered questions from a Senate committee, signaling he would create a new focus on Mars exploration. As NBC's Tom Costello reports, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle want the focus to remain on the Artemis moon program.
Jared now opening Dragon Resilience into space.
He's the self-made billionaire who last September became the first private astronaut to step out of an orbiting spaceship.
From here, Earth sure looks like a perfect world.
Jared Isaacman is also an accomplished fighter pilot with 7,000 hours in the cockpit. Now he's President Trump's choice to lead NASA as it plots a course to the moon and maybe Mars. On Wednesday, his Senate confirmation hearing with 10 astronauts showing their support behind him.
I've lived the American dream, and I owe this nation a great debt.
But senators quickly wanted to know if Isaacman would be beholden to SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, with whom Isaacman is very close, having commanded 2 private missions on SpaceX rockets.
What steps will you take, if confirmed, to ensure that he is not allowed undue influence?
My loyalty is to this nation, the space agency, and their world-changing mission.
Isaacman made his fortune by founding credit card processing company Shift4 Payments. But his passion has always been space. He's led 2 private space missions in SpaceX capsules, raising hundreds of millions of dollars for St. Jude Children's Hospital. In 2023, I caught up with him while training in Colorado.
Why do this? Why do we need to go into space?
I mean, there are questions that we've been asking ourselves since like the dawn of civilization, right? That we don't know the answers to.
And liftoff of Artemis 1. As the head of NASA, Isaacman would oversee the Artemis program's return to the moon. But Elon Musk wants to prioritize a Mars mission rather than the moon. Both Republicans and Democrats pressed Isaacman to reaffirm the moon mission first.
We don't have to make a binary decision of moon versus Mars, or moon has to come first versus Mars. I think we could be paralleling these efforts and doing the near impossible.
And that was Tom Costello. The committee is not expected to vote on Isaacman's confirmation until after lawmakers reconvene from a 2-week break. That ends on April 28th.
Carolina Hurricanes playoff tickets are now on sale. The Canes will play at least 2 home games at the Lenovo Center against the New Jersey Devils, the first opponents on this push toward the Stanley Cup for the Canes. Tickets went on sale this morning, and for information on how to get them, you can go to WRAL.com. 12:17 is the time right now. Lots of sunshine out there, and temperatures starting to rebound a little bit.
Yeah, it feels very mild out there, and we're back to normal temperatures. This is what spring should feel like. Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL on the WRAL patio with a look at how beautiful it is outside.
It really is gorgeous. It feels great out here right now. The humidity remains low. The temperature is pleasantly cool, but sort of Goldilocks weather. Not too hot, not too chilly. And boy, we have a crowd out here in the gardens. Plenty of people out here. Lots of people taking photos. Lots of people, just walking around and looking at the azaleas, which are absolutely gorgeous right now. Just looking back behind me, it looks like almost every bush is blooming. However, I know it's not because they bloom at different times. It just looks spectacular out there. So this is a great week to be here. Next week will also be a great week, and then after that, the blooms may start to taper off a little bit. It's 63 degrees. It feels almost more like 70, though. It's just very comfortable out here. We'll hit 70 for a high temperature, and our dew point's 41, so that's a very nice, comfortable, dry air mass with this. 59 in Roxborough, 63 in Raleigh, 66 in Clinton, 63 in Rocky Mount, so feeling very comfortable. A little bit closer to the Triangle area, 62 in Holly Springs, 64 in Cary, 61 in Wake Forest. So everybody's just kind of moving up into the low 60s right now. Our 24-hour temperature change, though, is around 10 to 12 degrees warmer than this time yesterday. So it does feel very comfortable. High of 70 this afternoon in Raleigh, 68 in Durham, and 74 in Fayetteville. Already beginning to see a little bit of light patchy rain showing up on dual Doppler 5000 radar. This scene out here is going to change very quickly this evening. So there's a little bit of the rain moving into the Piedmont and up into Virginia, and it arrives here very quickly. Now, we don't have a severe threat for today. The severe threat is for tomorrow from 3 to 8 p.m. Damaging winds, hail, and some isolated flooding with a level 1 risk for severe storms. But we will see some rain out ahead of it. Look how far back to the west the front is. It's from Lexington to Nashville, but the rain is as close as, say, Johnson City and Asheville, and that first band of rain comes in here. and it's going to feel like a strong band of thunderstorms coming through. We're going to see heavy rain with this. We're not likely to see it reach severe criteria, which would be 58-mile-per-hour winds, but my guess is we're going to see gusts maybe 40 to 50 miles per hour with this system coming through. Here's 7 o'clock, and it's sitting right in the middle of the viewing area from South Hill through Raleigh down toward Fayetteville, and then by 8 to 9, it's shifting closer to the eastern part of the viewing area and then out of here. And then a little bit of a lull overnight, but back at it tomorrow morning. What we see tomorrow morning isn't likely to be severe, but once we get into the afternoon, watch how we see more of this sort of rotation rolling on through mid-afternoon up until around 8 or 9 o'clock. That's when we'll have our chance for some severe storms. Saturday is likely to be cloudy and cool. We'll see a flow coming out of the north. We may not even make it out of the 50s. And of course, we'll have that severe weather threat for Friday. Taking a look at our 7-day forecast, of course, Friday is a WRAL weather alert day. Saturday and Sunday will be fairly dry, but Saturday looks a lot cooler than Sunday. Monday's the warm day at 82. Coming up, we're going to talk more about how much rain we'll get and how it could affect our drought situation.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you. 82. How about that?
How about it?
Coming up on WRAL News at 4 p.m., rising egg prices. The cost of a carton climbed again, despite White House predictions and a slowdown in the bird flu outbreak. We'll explain why people are still getting shell-shocked at the grocery store.
And at 5 p.m., HIV in Wake County. New cases are coming in the new campaign to protect people with what health officials call a highly effective drug. Plus, still ahead this noon, homegrown. Coming up, we'll tell you about what some Americans are doing to combat rising food costs.
And Ken James? Mattel is on a mission to showcase changemakers. Find out how the basketball legend is making history.
Spending on lawn and gardening supplies rose to an average of $600 per household during the pandemic. Even more people are turning to growing their own food as higher food prices continue. Gary Baumgartner shares the results of a new survey.
Food prices are ticking up, and many shoppers are starting to take notice.
84% of consumers tell us that food prices are high.
A March Consumer Food Insights report conducted by Purdue University shows shoppers' purchasing preferences have remained the same, but many people are starting to worry about those rising prices.
1 in 5 households tell us they've had difficulty paying for food in the last 30 days.
Temperatures are also on the rise, prompting some consumers to trade in grocery carts for gardening equipment.
Almost half. 44% of respondents in our survey tell us they plan to grow some of their own food.
For those turning to home gardening, many plan to stick to the basics.
82% of households tell us they're going to grow their own fruits and vegetables.
This is Gary Baumgartner reporting. And some of the easiest vegetables to grow include leafy greens, root vegetables like carrots, and spring onions.
You can call him King James, an icon, a role model. Now, LeBron James is adding another title to his list, Kenbassador. You see, Mattel is introducing a doll in his likeness. The basketball legend, author, activist, and philanthropist being honored in this way as a so-called Kenbassador who contributes to a better world for all. James expressed his approval of the doll's outfit, but noted that he might need to do a little weightlifting. He thinks his legs look a little skinny. The signature doll will be available to purchase online Monday. The price, $75. And Jeff noted he had a little salt and pepper in his beard.
We'll get him a home gym for Christmas. But stealing Christmas, some economists say President Trump's tariffs could become a major Grinch. Why the tree might be missing quite a few gifts.
Office policy. With vaccine hesitancy on the rise and an increase in measles cases, some doctors are taking a stand. Why some pediatricians say patients must be vaccinated in order to be seen. And here's a look at your winning lottery numbers.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Christmas may be a long way off, but experts are already predicting the Trump tariffs could be a major Grinch. Everything from toys, electronics to holiday decorations could be impacted. NBC's Brian Chung spoke with business owners who are making changes ahead of tariff trouble.
From ornaments to Christmas lights, the holidays are on track to cost way more this year, thanks to those tariffs on China now ratcheted up to 125%. Almost 90% of holiday decorations, including artificial trees, are manufactured there. That price hike will directly hurt the Christmas Loft, which sells holiday goods year-round in New Hampshire.
I would say about 85% of our product is from China. We'll also absorb some of the costs, but I imagine that we'll have to raise the prices, at least 50%.
And what about those gifts under the tree? Nearly 80% of toys imported into the U.S. are also made in China.
That means that 80% of the toys will be twice as expensive this Christmas as they were last Christmas.
Basic Fun CEO Jay Foreman says his company's paused shipments out of China for toy brands like Care Bears and Tonka trucks.
Does this imply that you might not have stuff on the shelves for key holiday season?
Well, there likely, in particular with toys, be a shortage of toys this Christmas. I mean, even a short-term disruption will upset the flow of goods. But we still have time.
If you can even find it. Foreman says a 125% tariff would force him to jack up the price of a $30 toy truck to $70.
There are no factories in the United States making the type of toys that we manufacture.
This hobby shop in Minnesota also concerned.
It scares the devil out of me. We have a choice. We can pay the bills and raise prices or try and absorb them and go out of business.
And for big ticket items like electronics, a new iPhone could be $350 more expensive for the holidays. Last week, Nintendo pressing the pause button on pre-orders for the Switch 2 console to assess the potential impact of tariffs. The gaming system is currently priced at nearly $450. Nintendo's president speaking to CNBC before yesterday's tariff reversal.
We didn't consider tariffs into that equation. We felt that was going to be the right price point for our consumers.
That's Brian Chung reporting, and it's not just Christmas that could take on a different appearance. Some businesses that supply fireworks for various celebrations throughout the year expect to feel the pinch as well. One company in Knoxville, Tennessee says 90% of their products come from China. He says the tariffs may not affect any shows going through August or September, but by the fourth quarter of the year, we could see the impact.
The big fireworks that you see on 4th of July, the big booms that go really high in the air, make a lot of noise, those are 1.3 display fireworks. And those fireworks are the ones primarily made in China.
And next year marks 250 years of the country's independence. Some business owners say if the tariffs remain in place, the celebrations could look different.
And back here in the WRAL Live Center, the House passed a bill that would require proof of citizenship for you to vote in a federal election. It's called the SAVE Act, Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. It actually passed today in a 220 to 208 vote. The legislation would require states to establish a program to remove undocumented immigrants from existing voter rolls. It's already illegal for non-citizens to vote in federal elections. Its fate is uncertain in the Senate. It does need to pass the Senate before it heads to President Trump's desk.
Democrat Wiley Nickel is launching a campaign for U.S. Senate. Nickel represented the Triangle area in Congress from 2022 to 24. He decided not to seek re-election to his House seat because state lawmakers redrew his district. The U.S. Senate seat is currently held by Republican Tom Tillis. Nickel told WRAL News that Tillis has failed to stand up to President Donald Trump.
We've got a president shredding the Constitution, deliberately tanking our economy, an unelected billionaire wreaking havoc on the federal government, putting forward policies that are just horrible for North Carolina.
Tillis's campaign put out a statement about Nickel, calling him a radical who was a rubber stamp for former President Joe Biden's agenda. Nickel and Tillis both need to win their party's primary to get on the ballot next November. For the latest updates on this U.S. Senate race, go to WRAL.com. Well, they say what goes up must come down, and it seems to describe the stock market volatility that we're seeing today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down 1,700 points right now. The S&P 500 down 280 points, and NASDAQ also in a 4-digit drop, down 1,000 points.
In his first television interview since becoming Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is now encouraging people to get vaccinated against the measles. This push comes as more people are exhibiting vaccine hesitancy. Jennifer Meckles explains a growing number of pediatricians now have a vaccine policy at their office.
At his practice in Castle Rock, Dr. Michael Malobsky fields questions all day long from parents.
If people have a question, happily answer the question, happily engage in a reasonable discussion around a question.
But he says what used to be a productive conversation around vaccines, like this one.
This is the MMR, and it has been so effective and safe. For a very long time, we had assumed it had eradicated measles in this country.
Those conversations, he says, have really changed in the last several years.
But I'm really not getting asked questions anymore. I'm usually just being told, we won't do this. I don't debate philosophy. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to debate vaccines with families.
Years ago, Dr. Malobsky started a vaccine policy at his practice, joining a growing number of pediatricians who now require families to either agree to their vaccine recommendations or go find another doctor.
The reason why is that when you're a pediatrician, you bear a heavy responsibility for everybody that walks into your office. And unvaccinated families, especially families that refuse vaccines like whooping cough and measles and chickenpox, can represent a dangerous threat to children who are young to be vaccinated, medically fragile patients who have significant medical complications, and for those reasons can't be vaccinated.
Back in 2019, a survey published by JAMA found more than half of pediatricians in the U.S. already had a policy like this. And the American Academy of Pediatrics has updated its guidance to say that's okay if doctors have tried, but families outright refuse vaccines. Dr. Malobsky says it wasn't an easy decision.
So it is very hard. But the way that I have had to reconcile that is looking at the bigger responsibility I have. This policy has been in place for over 7 or 8 years. I get constant positive feedback from the families, and many say one of the reasons I sought this practice out is because of this public stance, and I feel safe.
According to the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, there have been no reported cases of measles in our state.
Raleigh police officers might be coming to a neighborhood near you. Today, they will be canvassing St. Giles Street as part of their Cops on the Block initiative. This is video from 2 weeks ago of Raleigh Police Department strolls down Haywood Street. Cops on the Block was first implemented in 2022 as a way to help connect officers with the neighborhoods they serve. People will be able to ask officers questions, share their concerns in an informal, relaxed environment. The event begins at 2:30.
Handing out golden tickets, how they're helping people who are struggling get their basic needs met.
And the ultimate upcycling, building a whole new jet from 2 wrecked planes. Remember, you can watch WRAL News live anytime on WRAL.com or the WRAL app on your streaming device. A nonprofit group that raises awareness about suicide rates among active military members, veterans, and first responders is wrapping up its annual march right here in North Carolina. The Let's Walk It Out organization's 222-mile march is in its 5th year. Veterans and active military walk about 24 miles a day over the course of the 12 legs of their journey. The march ends Saturday in Fayetteville.
A joint effort in Las Vegas designed to reduce the homeless population. Advocates with Vegas Stronger teamed up with the city to help get the word out to help more people. The nonprofit launched the Golden Ticket Initiative late last year to connect people with resources like food, shelter, and support services. So far, they've given out more than 25,000 vouchers.
Instead of giving these homeless people money and stuff, let's give them a golden ticket and come down here, get a fresh shower. They can get everything going. And maybe if we save 1 out of 5, that's another person we don't have to worry about being on the streets.
And since January of 2024, almost 8,000 people have experienced homelessness in Nevada.
Too much coffee? Next at noon, we'll tell you how a dietitian recommends that you cut back on caffeine.
Also, it's one of a kind. Stick with us to see the Air Force's new ride in the sky.
Happening right now in the WRAL Live Center. Nobody was seriously hurt after a car crash right in front of Panther Creek High School in Cary involving students. At 10:35 this morning, a Ford Edge carrying multiple students was leaving campus during lunch when it collided with another Ford Fusion. The driver of the Edge failed to yield while leaving campus. It flipped onto its roof. Fortunately, nobody was seriously injured in this crash. No students suffered any injuries because of this.
New at noon, NC State is holding a public screening for one of our WRAL documentaries tonight. Ghosts in the Stadium investigates the hidden histories buried beneath football stadiums in North and South Carolina. The sports management program at NC State is showing the film tonight at 6 at the Witherspoon Student Center. WRAL documentary producer Kristen Severance and sports anchor Chris Lee will be on a panel after the screening to answer questions. The event is free and open to the public. You can also watch Ghosts in the Stadium on our website. Just go to the documentary section.
Here's something pretty awesome you don't see every day. An F-35 jet made from two previously wrecked jets, and it's now ready for duty. It cost nearly $12 million to create this aircraft. The front comes from a jet whose rear end was damaged in a fire back in 2014 when it was on a training mission in Florida. And the back is from a different variation of the F-35 that was damaged in the front in 2020 when it was trying to land in Utah. That is repurposing right there.
It is 12:46, and it looks like a pretty afternoon. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner out in the WRAL Azalea Gardens. And Elizabeth, I was reading on our website that peak bloom is coming up next week.
It looks like it's right now almost. I mean, looking back here, I mean, it's such a treat to actually have this as part of my office or my studio because I've been able to watch it over the last several weeks. And, it started to get warm and there were really no blooms happening. And then just over the last couple of weeks, they're really coming out and just looking gorgeous. I can't imagine it looking any prettier than it does right now. But, the gardeners knew exactly what they were doing. They planted a lot of different varieties that bloom at different times. And so it does give us a nice long window to get out and enjoy. Fayetteville, Raleigh, Apex, Chapel Hill, all looking good this morning, or this afternoon, I should say. We do have rain that's on the way. This is a look at the big picture. This cold front stretching from Memphis all the way up toward the Great Lakes is the one that's going to help to bring us some severe storms for tomorrow. But way out ahead of the front is the rain that's coming through this evening, and that's pushing into the mountains. There is some thunder and lightning with that right now. This is our next weather maker, and it, again, will come in two parts, one tonight and then tomorrow morning through tomorrow afternoon. So we do have a low severe threat for tomorrow. Tomorrow is a WRAL weather alert day, and we do have rain that'll start this evening and last all the way through Friday evening. Hail is possible, as well as some very heavy rain. We could see a half an inch to an inch of rain out of the system. We will see increasing clouds. As a matter of fact, I've noticed a little bit of a change just in the last 30 minutes from when we were out here earlier during this newscast. We've started to cloud up a little bit. This is 5 o'clock. During the first part of the evening commute, there could be a few isolated showers, but then we have this pretty heavy band of rain that comes through. There'll be some lightning and thunder with it, but to be severe, it would have to have winds up to 58 miles per hour, and it may be just under that. It could be 45 to 50 mile an hour winds, but you'll notice it come through. It'll be through dinner time up until around 10 or 11 o'clock. Then tomorrow morning, we'll start off with some showers. That will continue up until around lunchtime, and then it will change in character. Mid-afternoon, we'll begin to see these cells pop up, and some of these cells could produce some hail and some heavy rain and possibly some winds that would reach severe criteria. Saturday, on the backside of the system, we're going to see the wind coming from the north. Saturday is going to be cool and cloudy, but Sunday should be drier. Our severe weather threat for tomorrow is level 1. And again, it is a WRAL weather alert day for tomorrow. We have the potential for a half an inch to an inch of rain. Some of the heavier totals could be up to the north. We've had a fairly dry winter and spring. We still have some abnormally dry conditions. We have sort of that little slice just along the I-95 corridor where we don't have abnormally dry conditions, but that's in yellow. And then we do have some moderate drought, but it's mostly outside of our viewing area. So we've definitely seen some improvement. And if we see an inch of rain, of course, tomorrow, then that'll be helpful as well. Fortunately for the Easter egg hunts over the weekend, Saturday could be just a tiny shower up to the north. It'll be cloudy and cool. Sunday looks like a fairly pretty day to be outside. We'll see sunshine, and our high temperatures on Sunday will be in the mid-60s. We're going to jump to 82 on Monday, and then we're going to head back down the backside of the roller coaster on Wednesday. I mean, that is a roller coaster of a temperature forecast.
Buckle up. It's going to be fun, isn't it? Elizabeth, thank you. Too much coffee. They say too much of a good thing can sometimes be bad. Find out how a dietitian suggests cutting back on caffeine.
And have a look at your winning Powerball numbers on your screen. 4, 29, 37, 55, 67. The Powerball is 10. The multiplier is 4.
As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following today. New this noon, a man has been arrested in Lee County for the abduction and rape of a teenage girl. This is the wrong picture. 41-year-old Victor Bustamante faced a judge this morning, and the sheriff's office says they started investigating after a 14-year-old girl did not come home from school yesterday. They learned Bustamante had picked her up and took her to a hotel in Sanford.
Authorities identified a body found in Wayne County in December as this missing woman from Illinois. The state chief medical examiner office says it was Caitlin Hodges they found. Her body was found December 10th on Dollardtown Road in Goldsboro. Hodges was reported missing in Goldsboro last July. The Wayne County Sheriff's Office says the investigation into her death continues.
A Durham nonprofit announced nearly 500 layoffs nationwide. 144 of those workers are in North Carolina. FHI 360 focuses on global health and developing solutions to fight infectious diseases and food insecurity around the world. The company cites the Trump administration's reduction in federal funding as the reason, and the layoffs take effect May 2nd.
Millions of Americans drink a cup of coffee every day, and many drink more than that, which poses the question, can you drink too much coffee? The FDA recommends no more than 4 cups a day. For some, less than that. The recommended limit also includes any soda or energy drinks you consume. A registered dietitian says the best way to scale back is slowly.
For example, you're drinking 4 cups of coffee, maybe you go down to 3, and then that 4th one is a half caffeinated, half regular. And then you slowly make that 4th one a fully decaf. And then you start to slowly scale back versus going cold turkey.
Okay, so it's the amount of caffeine they're honing in on there. Going cold turkey can cause you to experience unpleasant side effects like headaches, and drinking too much caffeine can also cause headaches, increased heart rate as well, and sleep disruptions, as we know.
A special honor for 9 to 5 legend Dolly Parton is coming to the Country Music Hall of Fame. It explores her career of 60-plus years. Dolly Parton, Journey of a Seeker, focuses on turning points in her life and career throughout the decades, including her first draft of handwritten lyrics for the classic song Jolene. The exhibits open May 20th and run until September 2026. She's a national treasure.
Oh, my. If you are in the market for a loving and affectionate cat companion, look no further than Domingo, a 2-year-old neutered male who sadly landed at the SPCA of Wake County due to his previous owner's financial hardships. Domingo loves head scratches and likes to rub along your legs as a sign of affection. He has lived with young children, but he's a bit fearful of dogs. Cats appear to be a hit or miss. He'll warm your lap, soothe your stress, and keep you company. You can get more information at spcawake.org.
Tracking price trends, WRAL looks at household staples as new factors threaten to increase costs. Today on WRAL News at 4, how much the cost of basic grocery items has shifted over time.
NBC News Daily up next, your next local news update in 30 minutes.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.